Fields, a camp wig fitter, a hardy cop, and a trembling prostitute. He gives a virtuoso display of characterization and comic timing, which all but turns a minor black comedy into an absolute masterpiece. Well, with that, let's have some fun with the multiple personality Rod Steiger and multiple murders in No Way to Treat a Lady. No Way to Treat a Lady was originally set to be filmed in New York for 3 weeks, and then they were going to take it back to Hollywood and finish over at Paramount Sound Stages. Well, the producers showed up to scout for locations, and they simply fell in love with all the authentic locales that we saw in the picture. Lincoln Center and Sardi's restaurant. By the way, that was the real Vincent Sardi that you saw in the movie. The Belasco Theater, the Daily News City Room. And they were so impressed by the interiors provided by the James House, a residential building in Brooklyn Heights, that they decided to shoot the whole movie in New York. Another factor, well, they apparently saved $250,000 along the way by doing it that way. Now, let me remind you, just for a moment, to please stay tuned on March 12th, 13th, and 14th, circle those dates on your calendar, for AMC's first annual Film Restoration Festival. We'll be featuring a great lineup of wonderful classic movies that have either been preserved or restored. So tune in March 12th, 13th, and 14th and help AMC preserve these great films for our future generations. Now let's look at this.
Next on AMC, Eddie Cantor stars with George Raft and Charlotte Greenwood in a merry musical comedy that features the choreography of Busby Berkeley. Palmy Days, next on AMC.
It is with a sense of deep humility that I hail this conquering hero.
I'm no hero.
They think he's a hero.
We want you to run for mayor. You want me to run for mayor?
Hip, hip, hip. Hooray!
Everything is perfect except for a couple of details.
They hang people for a couple of details.
Eddie Bracken stars in Preston Sturgis' Hail the Conquering Hero, Thursday on AMC.
I'm a bad influence.
Dietrich and the Duke ignite the screen.
What were you thinking of?
Well, if you keep looking at me like that, I'm liable to tell you.
When jaded bad girl
Imagine finding you here.
meets the Navy's golden boy,
I'm the type of girl you're liable to find anywhere.
the sparks start to fly.
Take care of him, big boy.
In the romantic South Seas adventure, Seven Sinners, Tuesday on AMC.
Coming in March, the AMC Film Preservation Festival, only on AMC.
Did you know that there's only one magazine where you'll find stories about America's sweetheart, Lucille Ball, or exclusive interviews with stars like Audrey Hepburn? Hi, I'm Cesar Romero, and if you love classic movies as much as I do, then American Movie Classics magazine is for you. It's your personal guide to AMC programming, and the only magazine that takes you behind the scenes of Hollywood's golden age.
Call 1-800-535-7700 and order American Movie Classics magazine. Each issue features daily schedules with easy-to-read, detailed descriptions of every movie and original program on AMC that month. Every issue profiles your favorite classic movie stars and follows them behind the camera. AMC Magazine is the only magazine dedicated to bringing you beautiful, rarely seen photographs, entertaining and intriguing stories of classic Hollywood's most glamorous and renowned stars, letters to AMC host Bob Dorian, and a look into forgotten movie palaces brought back to their original splendor and elegance. To order AMC Magazine and save 50% off the cover price, call 1-800-535-7700. You can use your Visa or MasterCard or send check or money order for $11.95 to AMC Magazine, P.O. Box 2065, Marion, Ohio 43305. That's American Movie Classics Magazine, 1-800-535-7700.
So bring the classic movie experience home. Call now and order American Movie Classics magazine.
Most leading men are suave and sophisticated, but not that nervous bundle of energy with rolling banjo eyes, Eddie Cantor. A A success in every form of show business, including vaudeville and radio, Eddie Cantor had a running start in the movies. In 1926, at age 34, he arrived in Hollywood and made the silent feature Kid Boots. After a few other silents, Cantor returned to New York, appearing in various Florin Ziegfeld productions on Broadway, until producer Sam Goldwyn coaxed him back to Hollywood to star in the movie version of Cantor's stage hit, Whoopee.
Another year, or maybe less. What's this I hear? Well, can't you guess? She feels neglected, and he's suspected of making whoopee. She sits alone most every night. He doesn't phone or even write. He says he's busy, but she said, is he? He's making whoopee.
Every year throughout the Depression, Eddie Cantor starred in a big-budgeted musical comedy, 10 in all. They had only the finest ingredients. Hundreds of scantily clad Goldwyn girls, each hand-picked by Sam Goldwyn himself. There were elaborately staged dance routines choreographed by the great Busby Berkeley. But it was the bright and bouncy Eddie Cantor who Sam Goldwyn counted on to help America forget about the Depression.
We're gonna do things. We're gonna do new things. My honey loves new things.
His films, such as Palmy Days, Roman Scandals, and Kid Millions, all had Eddie offering hope that prosperity was waiting just around the corner.
It ain't your ship, and it's not mine. Oh, but I've got a ship someplace, and it's coming in someday. And when it does,
I'll have a golden castle, grand and tall, with 18 butlers standing in the hall, and Walter Disney paintings on the wall. When my ship comes in, with a carpet on the floor, made of buttercups and clover, all our troubles will be over when we build a little home.
From his years in vaudeville, Eddie Cantor refined his conversational way of telling jokes, making him an early stand-up comic.
Hey, you must have the theater in your blood.
yes, and my blood is in a lot of these theaters.
That reminds me, you know, my sister's husband wanted to take her to Florida on their honeymoon, but she's been to Florida, so she sent a girlfriend.
So, you're gonna marry Fania. Do you know what a wedding means?
Sure, a wedding is a funeral where you smell your own flowers.
Despite his jokes, Eddie Cantor was happily married to his childhood sweetheart, Ida. Together, they were married nearly 50 years and had 5 daughters. Eddie Cantor brought many of the traditions of the stage into his films. One of them, appearing in blackface, may now be perceived as a racial slur, but in the early days, this technique was used by performers to overcome their inhibitions. Once an actor gained experience, they could come out from behind the mask and perform without makeup. Of all the performers, only he and Al Jolson brought this tradition to the screen. Eddie Cantor's career was running at a frantic pace well into the 1940s and 50s. Dubbed the Apostle of Pep, at age 60, he looked 40 and acted 20. Eddie Cantor remained enormously popular through the 1950s, appearing on his radio and television shows. But it wasn't until 1956 that the Motion Picture Academy recognized his lifelong service to the film community by awarding him a special Oscar. A good showman always leaves his audiences wanting more. Eddie Cantor died in 1964 at the age of 72. Look for the films of Eddie Cantor right here on AMC.
That's all there is.
Next on AMC, Eddie Cantor stars with George Raft and Charlotte Greenwood in a merry musical comedy that features the choreography of Busby Berkeley. Palmy Days, next on AMC.
Think about this for just a moment. You're a moviegoer back in 1931. Movies are fairly new, and all this stuff about sound is even newer. It only came out in 1927. Everything you see on film is fresh and wonderful because it's the first time it's ever been done. And for filmmakers, every problem represents a completely new challenge. There are no conventions, no standard way of doing anything. It was a very exciting time when entertainment forms were borrowed from vaudeville and from the stage, and they were remade for the motion picture camera. In 1931, Eddie Cantor was the most important star in Hollywood. You may look at Eddie today and not exactly understand this, but there it is. He's talented, all right, but what raised him so far above all the other talented people? Well, he was one of the first to use film as its own medium. Of course, he borrowed from vaudeville and the theater, but many things that he learned to do before the camera were very, very new in those days, very different in 1931. You may think he does things that all the actors did, but the difference is this: Eddie Cantor did them first. He was the trailblazer. Eddie only worked on films in the summertime, by the way. His contract would allow him to do his stage and radio work for the rest of the year. Maybe that's why. He was always in such demand. He didn't overexpose himself in the film business, and the public was always left wanting more, an old vaudeville trick. The New York Times loved the film we're going to see, saying that it was full of songs and dances and buffoonery and pulchritude. With that, here's Eddie Cantor and Charlotte Greenwood and George Raft in Palmy Days.